Well, it's time to take accountability. Where did I go wrong? Shocking predictions for 2024. We've got a major 6-month update looking at Bitcoin, cryptos, the stock markets, and real estate. I really did put my neck out on the line 6 months ago with some forecasts for all of the markets. So join us today as we go through Bitcoin and the top 10 altcoins and which altcoins are going to make it through to this next stage of the bull market. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. You're joining me, Jason Pizzito, at your home of macro cycle analysis. Today is a very, very big video. It's going to be very, very fun as we get to reflect on where the market has come from, where it's going over the next 6 months, and of course, take a dig at my forecast and see how well they're playing out throughout the first 6 months. And of course, let's see how they go in the next 6 months. Now, if you do enjoy these updates, make sure you are subscribed. Let me know in the top of the comments section, and I'll do more of these updates. All right, guys, you know the deal. Let's kick it off. Here are the forecasts, and I've got heaps to get through. I'm pretty excited for this, even though I'm not feeling the best. But anyway, I had 13 forecasts for 2024. We're halfway through. The value you're going to get from this is to understand the altcoin market and which ones are going to make it and which ones are not. But of course, I want to get through everything. I'm interested in all of the markets. So keep in mind where the market was at the beginning of this year and of course the end of 2023. The major thing that was still through people's minds was major recession coming. Markets are not as bullish as they have been in the last 6 months, but the extreme fear was getting a lot less. Like that was starting to subside somewhat. Now, I did this in 2022 as well. So this was December 2022, the year prior to that. And essentially, all these were pretty well on point, if I don't say so myself. Basically, S&P 500 was bottoming in 2022. The real estate was not going to crash, and it did not. It basically has been up. And people have been caught off guard with how far the markets have gone up. The second half of 2022 and the first half of 2023 were buying opportunities, amazing buying opportunities, the best buying opportunities that we have had throughout this stage of the cycle. Bitcoin is bottoming, and well, it did, and most cryptos are terrible dollar cost average investments. Most, not all. In terms of areas of improvement, I would say it comes down to the degenning into short-term positions. That's probably where I could improve on when it comes to these forecasts from 2022. However, if I look at managing risk on a portfolio that I'm comfortable with, that I enjoy, then I look more to the longer term outlooks here. And these have all been pretty well on point. So keep that in mind as we go through these forecasts as well. So that's 2022. Let's have a look at 2024, the forecasts put forward for this year and how well they've gone over the first 6 months. I think we can cover these off relatively quickly and then get into the charts as I've been covering it daily now on the channel. Number one, interest rate cuts, pause hikes will not collapse the market. This was a really big thing earlier in the year. Interest rates were quite scary. People were waiting for cuts to help them out. Didn't happen. And well, the market did not collapse either, even though they were on pause. And now, at least in Australia, they're looking like they're going to hike the interest rates. All right, remember this was written back on January 1st, 2024. So 6 months later. I want to reflect on this to see if I can improve over the next 6 months and hopefully make even better calls for this period for my own portfolio and hopefully for you guys as well. Now, the bearish inflation narrative will die out. I think it kind of has. It's sort of still a little bit there, but essentially even with that inflation, the markets are still going up. So what's more important? Price action. And that's how we make our money. So price action is good. Recession or no recession, markets will likely close higher. 6 months in, markets are well and truly up, and I don't think they're going to go back to where they were. Bitcoin won't trade below 25K. I mean, at the time it was 42K, so it was much closer. But yeah, I doubt it's going to go to 25. And Bitcoin will close higher than it opened. So we're currently at 61,000. I think it's still going to close the year out higher than 42. Again, it was far different earlier in the year than what it is now. That's why it's harder to make predictions at the time, because looking back in hindsight, well, it seems logical now, but at the time, none of it really seemed that logical. US stock markets won't trade below October 2023. That was a pretty big scare period there. And again, they're at all-time highs, so I doubt that's going to happen as well. 6 months to go. So we'll see. Banking crisis lows, March 2023 won't be broken. Again, seems easy in hindsight, but at the time, people still had a lot of fear. Big one here, no blow off top in 2024. I can't see the top coming in this year. And there was a fair bit of talk. I don't know if that's still going on X or elsewhere around financial media, but yeah, no blow off top in 2024. The markets are not going to peak and then come collapsing down 50% in 2024. Definitely, I don't see that happening. US stock markets will close higher, basically close higher than they opened. Still think that's a pretty strong possibility. Number 10, more bullish sentiment enters all markets in the second half. So we're looking for even more reasons for the market to go up on the back of a wall of worry. So we've got some bullish sentiment now, but I think more of that will potentially enter. Real estate will close higher. Well, that's been an absolute gangbuster move here. US home prices are up. We could go through all of the data, but I'll save that for a future video. I think many of us can appreciate just how much the prices have gone up in Australia. Basically, every single month has been higher. We're at 16-month streak of higher prices. The US in the major cities that they record through here also up. And the UK has also turned the door here. Is that the saying? They basically turned the corner. I think that's the one, and gone up as well. So they were lagging. And we talked about this 6 months ago, that if you're lagging the US, you've got a leading indicator there. So that would be a fantastic time to get in while the UK was lagging the US. And you can see the US is also up now, and now the UK started to go up for the last 4 or 5 months. So all looking pretty well on track. And to finish off here, strong crypto projects will outperform Bitcoin. Well, yeah, they have done, and we'll see that in just a sec. And then number 13, ETH will outperform Bitcoin and close higher than it opened. We're very close to that at the moment. ETH is just 3% better than Bitcoin this year so far. Bonus 14, more bearish narratives will come and go, and the wall of worry will continue higher. I think that's going to continue on throughout this winner's curse phase of the cycle, which I see ourselves in now. More and more bullishness comes to the market, more bearishness dies off, and that gives investors and traders more dreams of hope and optimism and all that sort of stuff that comes in on the Wall Street cheat sheet. So everyone gets really excited leading into that euphoria, which is the winner's curse phase. So all of this stuff was big talk 6 months ago. As you can see, you don't hear about it in the headlines much anymore. Geopolitical risks. Some people are going to pay far more attention to it, especially the fear porn accounts that people love to follow. But overall, I hear of it less and less, and less people talking about it. So that just tells me that we are leading into this peak of the market, but in that winner's curse phase. So that's where we were at the time, and now roughly around here. So this is an old chart. Don't have a go at me. It's just a little yellow circle here on the chart. It's going to be higher up. January 1st. We'll come back to this. Let me know in the comment section. You want it every 3 months, every quarter? I'll probably do it every 6 months and every 12 months as well. Obviously, every 6 months. And if we want every quarter, we'll come back to that in 3 months' time to see just how well it is tracking, because I absolutely love to see some of the comments as well. Now, this was a good one. Phantom talked about his views back at December, because this is what the majority of people were thinking. And obviously not hating here, but basically the major things here when it comes to price were wrong, incorrect. If you were to trade this, you would have lost a lot of money. It's bottoming at this price in Q2 didn't happen. It only got to 3,500. Real estate didn't grind lower at all. It actually was grinding higher. So again, losing out on money. And buying opportunities they're not too bad there, but they were much earlier on, right? And there was not a leg lower at all. So it was good to see that Phantom checked it out, and seeing the post in the video. If you are there, again, drop another comment in the comment section in today's video. But I think we can all learn a hell of a lot from this when it comes to the macro cycle. Macro is slow to play out. Still taking my chunk out of the markets, but you live and learn. Exactly. I love it. So thanks very much, guys, for tuning in to all of the data. So let's carry on now with the 6 monthly charts for our stock markets and for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. We've got probably a couple of major news pieces that we see for now leading out into at least the first Q3 of 2024, which might affect the crypto markets. But anyway, we're here now at stock markets. In terms of are they going higher, lower, so on, I'm just looking at the swing chart and swings against the trend. And this is a 6 monthly chart. So the S&P 500 is now up 3 bars. Each bar is 6 months. That is 18 months from that October low. You see from the low to where it is there, 3 bars, 6 months, 3 6 is 18. Okay, we get the point. 3 up. Now, if we're expecting a reversal, what we can see from this cycle at least is if there is a reversal, it's pretty much just one red bar, so one 6 month period, but there hasn't been any consecutive, right? Not even in the mid-cycle here, this 2020 correction. It just barely made it out with one red and then into a green. So if you wanted to, sure, you could call it two reds, but I mean, it doesn't show up here. Anyway, you've got a red. Even in the COVID collapse, it closed relatively high. Another one, and then it basically went on to another green streak, one, green streak, one, couple here, and then one more red there. So the only times we've really seen long amounts of red were the dot-com bust. The GFC had 3 reds and then a green reversal, and then the market basically took off from that point. We have to go back to the 1970s, where there was 4 red bars, but 3 in the swing. So we're still looking at a period of about 2 years, top to bottom there, roughly 1.5 to 2 years, and then also 1980 to 1982 correction. What this is suggesting is that once it gets into the green runs, it can go on for quite some time, even in the face of a lot of bearishness, which happened early in the cycle. So 2009 into 2015, there was a lot of calls for the market to collapse again, one more leg lower. Europe was imploding. It seemed like they were all going to default on their debts back in 2012, 2013. And from that point, well, the US kept going up from there. Is the next 6 months going to be red or green? I guess the probabilities are definitely on the side of the greens. And if there was a red, it would probably be short-lived. As you can see that you've got one red and then a swift reversal after those reds. And you wouldn't see another red after that point unless we got something like the dot-com collapse, which I'm sure there is a potential building for that towards the end of the cycle. So potentially after that 2026 timeframe that we've talked about with the 18.6 year cycle, maybe we go into a 2 or 3 streak of 6 monthly red bars. So, 1 year to 18 months of a correction after 2026. So just looking at the data again, just as a recap on that, it seems more likely that we'd see more upside here for the S&P 500 and for the NASDAQ over the second half of 2024. Just making sure I got my words right here. So the NASDAQ, we've got the entire history here. Corrections have only seen once with 5 bars to the downside and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the red as well. So 5 in the swing, 5 in the red, very long period. That's the dot-com bust. You can see just how extreme that move to the upside was. Whereas right now, even though the moves are pretty strong, they're still contained within a pretty decent channel here. So I think once it starts to break out of that channel, that's when you could be on the case of a bubble and then followed up by something like that. But there's no signs of that just yet. So you got one movement here of 5, another movement here of 2 against the uptrend, and another 2 to the downside, which of course is against the uptrend as well. That's only happened 3 times in its entire history, which is roughly about 40 years of history. So to see any sort of multiple reds doesn't happen very often at all. And if there was a correction, same thing like the S&P, you've basically got one red bar and then it goes on another at least 2 bar streak. So pretty much throughout its entire history, that it does at least that sort of 2 bars to the upside. So overall, things still seem relatively bullish for the stock markets. Now, over to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, 2 of the major headlines, at least what we can see now, that could affect the markets, whether it's to the downside or to the upside. The first major thing, of course, is Mt. Gox, with the creditors receiving 142,000 Bitcoin. Now, people have been concerned that they're going to dump all their tokens at once, but not all this is coming out at once. And the people who are receiving this are potentially not going to sell all of it at once anyway, or they might even hold on to a lot of it. So I think it's a little bit prudent to think that it's all just going to get dumped in July. The start of it, potentially. But in terms of all 9 billion worth of Bitcoin getting dumped, probably unlikely for July. But this is probably the most major headline that we've got for Bitcoin and cryptos, at least for now, looking into the next 6 months, okay? So there's the Bitcoin holdings there. The red dotted line is Mt. Gox. Purple is BlackRock. Blue is MicroStrategy, which has way more than Mt. Gox. So if something happened to MicroStrategy and they started dumping it, you're probably more concerned about that. If they lost the keys to all of that, well, then we probably don't have to be too concerned because that would all be locked up and a shitload of it would be off the market forever. And then green is the Fidelity ETF. So all of that is much more than the Mt. Gox. This is June Analytics source at the bottom. Now, the second big thing for the bull market would be more ETFs. And we just saw today Solana jump about 8 to 9% as VanEck files its first Sol ETF bid. If Sol can do this, then why not the rest of the top 10 altcoins or the most highly traded markets, which have the most volume, which are going to make the most fees for the ETF holders. So we got Bitcoin, ETH is going to start soon, maybe Solana's next up, maybe XRP finally gets its chance to shine. Maybe ADA also can get off the ground. So we'll have a look at those charts in just a moment as well. But these would be, at least in my opinion, probably some of the biggest narratives throughout this next stage of the bull market, with potentially more ETFs coming, which could be like the old days when coins were listed on Binance and they pumped, and then they were listed on Coinbase and they pumped. Now they get an ETF, maybe they pump. It could be something similar, but wrapped up differently. So it's not about this time is different. It's essentially the same thing, just in different clothes. There's an old saying for that, but I'm at my extent here with analogies for the day. So with the fear and greed, we're definitely at a reset point here. Just thought I'd bring this one up quickly. Neutral period. We had fear yesterday and fear the day before. Back onto the neutral chart here for crypto fear and greed index. Now let's look at the 6 monthly returns for Bitcoin and the top 10 altcoins and which ones you want to be in or not in. Okay. So with BTC 6 monthly returns here, the forward returns dashboard for TIA indicators. Link is in the top of the video description. Subscribe to the weekly economic report and you'll be advised when this new TIA indicator suite is released. All right, so July to December, the next 6 month period, has had 5 red returns and 9 positive returns. Now, if we take out the bearish years, because we don't expect 2024 to be a bearish year, you might, but I don't. So I'm taking those out and it just changes the odds here to an 80% hit rate, so an 80% win potential that Bitcoin is going to close higher from the 1st through to the 31st of December this year. So wherever it opens on Monday, the 1st of July, this is suggesting that there's an 80% chance that it's going to be higher at the end of this year. Now, I think a lot of people are probably in that camp. If you're not, let us know in the comments section. But this was vastly different to 2 years ago in 2022, when I put out the same thing. You can go back to this post here where I said Bitcoin is bottoming and a lot of people were expecting another leg down. So, times have changed and it just becomes easier to accept that the bull market is on. So 2022, that was a low period there. And then going forward from 2022's low, you had an 84% move from January 1st, 2023 into the end of June 2023. So is it going to be green? I guess the odds are saying it is. You got a 20% chance that it is, that it's not. So keep that in mind as well. So that's the 6 monthly returns for BTC. Let's have a look at it with the 6 month bars. We're at 3 straight green 6 months. In the past cycles, we've had 4, 5, and 4. So we haven't had a 3, but we have had a 1 with a red and then 2 with a red. Now, to me, there's a little difference here. With this green, you got 188%. Basically, it was a 200%. It was a 300% move from that low to the high, but just in that closing, 200%. And then back here, look at that, 5,000%. So it seems like the market ran away from itself too quickly in both of these occasions and had to reverse as it did, and then get onto that next stage. Whereas what it looks like we're in now is something more like this sort of move, or at the early stages like this. So the fast and hard moves can happen towards the end, and then that will correct the market. Whereas what we're currently in now, and it might seem like a lot of gains, but it still seems relatively steady sort of gains to the upside here, with the first 6 months being 84%, then 38%, and we're currently sitting at 45%. So in the 2015 to 2017 run, you had 63, 56, 44, and then the last two went crazy. Same sort of thing here back in 2013. Couple of easy 6-month gains, 41% and 100%. Remember, the price was much, much lower back then. And then you went on two ridiculous gains, 600%, 700%. So if that is to occur for this final leg of the bull market, be prepared for crazy returns. I'm not saying it's going to be hundreds and hundreds of a percent, but it's potentially going to get out of control if it has been controlled so far. So that's going to come down to your own subjectivity here, whether you think this is a controlled move to the upside, or has it been ridiculous like these sort of first two moves here. Overall, I see that as pretty good signs for the next leg of the bull market, and it works in relatively well with Michael's Elliott wave theory, where we've got another major leg up for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Now, as this video's predictions for the next 6 months, I'll leave the short-term stuff to a video coming up real soon, so make sure you are subscribed, like the content, you know the deal. Let's have a look at Ethereum now, and we're just going to look at this in terms of the 6-month returns from the beginning of the year to where it currently sits. And this is the bar that we're looking at here, or the lines in the background. It is at a 51% return from the 1st of January to its current price. Pretty decent considering Bitcoin's at about a 46% return, which then makes ETH BTC a 3 to 4% return. So it's outperformed Bitcoin since the start of the year by nearly 4%. Pretty crazy when you think about it, as it's had a really decent correction, and then it's pumped from there with the ETF news, and then it's found some support at 50%. So it's possible that this is turning out to be the low, which basically started from October 2023. And if it is going to be the low, then you'd expect ETH to outperform Bitcoin, which then goes back to the forecast that I had here back at the beginning of the year. ETH will outperform Bitcoin and close higher than it opened. So in terms of ETH, I mean, that's a win, but I want something more serious than the 3% outperformance from Bitcoin for the risk of Ethereum. So look, at the end of the 6 months, cool, we got it, but I think we can do better over the next 6 months. So let's turn it to the altcoins, the stuff that is not going to make it and has been showing signs of not making it, and stuff that is going to make it. So I put this one out about a month ago in late May. And just looking at the altcoins that were top performers and altcoins which weren't top performers, basically the worst performers that had negative results over the period that we reviewed here, which was basically from the start of the breakout. And several of them didn't have it. You guys know the deal. We can crap on them all day. ADA, DOT, Link, Bitcoin Cash, and XRP, one of the worst ones that had terrible performance there. So what we want to do is find the stuff that is going to be better. And if it is performing better, then it should still be performing better now with higher lows, some strength on the charts, closing above their major 50%, and basically more technical strength. So let's take a look at the first one, and we're just going to measure everything from the 1st of January until our current date here, which is June 27th. We got one more trading day in the week, being 28th, and of course the weekend comes in. Maybe we'll get some activity, maybe we won't, but essentially this is what we got to play with right now. So everything's measured from the open price of the 1st of January to the closing price of the 27th. 47% up for Solana. So it's still one of the best performers for 2024, looking at this top 10 that we had reviewed. So remember, the goal here is to identify strong alts and get out of weak altcoins. I've gone through the stock markets, S&P and NASDAQ, and of course we've gone through real estate as well. As, this is where the wealth is held. We're still seeing further signs of upside. So if there is still final signs of upside for the next 6 to 12 months, you definitely want to be holding the stronger stuff and not screwing up this opportunity for the next leg. Yes, some of these weak coins are going to make gains because everything is going to be going up, but it just depends on what type of gains do you want. Do you want laggard gains like what XRP is showing, or do you want leading gains like what Solana is showing compared to the top 10, 15 altcoins here? So Solana up 47%. What else? We've got Binance. Binance at the top there. It's at 86% from the 1st of January to the current price. Just a quick note on this. We looked at this just a couple of weeks ago, earlier in the month actually, that this was going to be, there was a breakout forming, but it seems like it is now confirmed that it was a fake out. So basically like a bit of a premature pump to the upside. It's my first and last dad joke for the video, so I hope you enjoy it. Doge was also one of the stronger altcoins here at the top. It had some nice green ticks, positive results. And this was measured from October because that was where the pump was from. But for this video, I'm doing the 6-month periods. Okay, so Doge for the 6 months is up 41%. Pretty decent. AVAX is down 27% from the first of the year to where it currently is. One of the weaker performers of those cryptos that were strong at the time. You can see that it had a pretty significant move up and now it's basically been coming down. That's why it's on my weak list. After AVAX, we get onto the weaker altcoins. DOT, one of those weaker altcoins. Can you imagine you've been holding something for 6 months in 2024 and it has produced a loss? And not a small loss, like 23%, pretty significant. Yes, I can hear it on this other side. People say, well, this stuff can pump, it used to be $50. It can go from $6 to $50. It can, but if you're looking at something that is stronger, it can do bigger returns than that. But this might not even get to $50. Now you're sort of hoping and praying that it gets to $50. At the moment, it's at $6, and for the year, it has lost 23%. That brings us to some of the worst performers, and XRP, again, 23% loss on the year. It just keeps breaking down after breakdown after breakdown, and really has not had any significant pump since 2021. So basically 3 years when many other cryptos have had their pump. So 23% loss for the year. Cardano, 34% loss for the year. Eventually, maybe they do have their time again, but they have shown very, very weak signs breaking back underneath the breakout zone. So back into where they consolidated before. So probably not going to see any significant upside compared to some of the strong stuff. Now I've got one more to look at here, and this was Link. Link is down 3% on the year. So you can see it's slightly stronger here where it's broken out of the consolidation and is trying to consolidate again out of the breakout zone. So that might have another crack at some higher prices. And if this is going to hold, if it doesn't break down from about $10 to $12, then I suspect, and you can screenshot this or type it in the comments, that Link will outperform ADA and XRP and potentially DOT. So out of your weak ones here, Link, if you want to choose out of the old school stuff and the weak stuff, it seems like Link is in a slightly better position to outperform those over the coming altcoin season, whether that's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, we'll wait and see, but I'd say this is going to outperform. Now that is the list that we had a look at, and it all, even a month later, is still basically on track with the top performers and the worst performers, with the notable exception here of AVAX dropping down into the negative results, which is why it's really important to get on board with the best altcoins that you can during this next phase of the cycle, especially as I think there's more upside. Maybe you do too. So I thought I would throw in some of these stronger altcoins and what they look like. So far, Render has been one of those, and it's up 73% since the first of the year to where it currently sits. And if we did the peak of it, I mean, it did 200% at its peak. So now it's still sitting at roughly 73%. So that's something in the kind of AI deep in space. Now, if you want The meme coin space, which is obviously a stronger narrative as well. Well, Pepe, you don't have to go too much further to see that this thing was absolute blaster. If you go back to the 1st of January, it's going to be hundreds of a percent, 800% from the 1st to the current closing price. So another big move there. And, we could choose something else here like we had on the last video, CAS. CAS from the 1st of the year, there it is, to the current price, about 60% up. So they're in slightly stronger positions. Something else that we've been watching on the channel was Pendle. That's up a long way as well from the beginning of the year. So let's have a look. January 1st, somewhere around there to the current prices, about 360%. So we'll keep an eye on this in case they start to break down, but overall, they're in a stronger position. Generally speaking, when you're comparing it to the weaker charts that we had to look at here, like XRP, like ADA, like DOT, like AVAX, the list goes on. So that's the major update for this 6 months. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more of the content on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the free crypto and economic report down below. The Ultimate Traders Accelerator is coming out very, very soon. So if you want that free course on trading, make sure you are subscribed to that list and we'll let you know very, very soon. Guys, have a fantastic weekend. Thanks again. More coming up. Let me know in the pinned comment and I'll see you then. Take care and peace out.